Here we are, Pikes Peak, 14,000 feet, 112. 14,000 feet, 14,112 feet. All right, guys, we made it here to Manitou Springs. We are at the Cog Railway Station. Get ready for this epic climb to 14,000 feet. I mean, this is like out of a Bob Ross painting. Happy little mistakes. And stick around to the end of the video to see views from the top. So that's down the steps to the tracks. And here's your parking area here. You come up the road from there, and then all your parking is gonna be along here. And then we're here in this nice blue building. All right, guys, so we're gonna go down the steps now, and I think the first stop we're gonna make is the bathroom. And here's our train visitor center here, where you can get you a t-shirt, probably a can of oxygen, because you're gonna need it. So when you make the reservations to ride this train, you have to actually pick you have assigned seats, you have to pick a seat. And so Michaela and Aaron are in the third row, and I was lucky enough to snag a front row spot. I had to pay a little extra for it, but we're gonna stick the GoPro up there. This railroad is called the Cog Railway, and the reason it's called a Cog Railway, think of a cog wheel, okay? And if you see here, the center rail of the track, because it's a 25% incline up the mountain to 14,000 feet, and so regular train wheels wouldn't cut it. So the train runs this third rail in the center here to help give it some traction to get up the mountain and then not come barreling down at the end. And again, guys, remember, you're going to 14,000 feet. So here's the altitude warning.
Good morning, Cog Railway passengers. The 10 o'clock train will begin boarding in about 10 minutes off of track number 2.
Are you excited?
This is gonna be so much fun. All right, guys, leave us a comment down below. Have you ever ridden the Manitou and Pikes Peak Railway before here in Manitou Springs, Colorado? Let us know what you did when you got to the top. We're really excited for the donuts. The donuts at 14,000 feet. We're really looking forward to that, and probably the hot chocolate.
I just like being fat, so it's fun.
All right, we've got to actually go around to the other side of the track here, and we're gonna get on.
You have assigned seats on the train, so it's very important that you're sitting in the seats that match your tickets. Car number 1 is under the blue bridge. Car 2 is behind me here. Car 3 is down under the shaded pavilion. When you get on board, you'll find the row markers above the windows. That's how you'll locate your seats. Please bring plenty of water, warm clothing, and use the restrooms before we leave. We have no bathrooms on the train, and we'll be over an hour before we see more of the summit. Also, there's no eating or drinking of anything besides water on board the train, so if you have anything besides water, coffee, soda, please keep it in your bag for the entire length of the trip. Same with snacks. You're welcome to bring them with you and eat them up on the summit. We just ask that you're not eating or drinking on the train unless it's water. And with that, all aboard, everybody.
All right, guys, here we go. We're gonna get on board, assigned seats.
Looks like to be into the left.
Okay, guys, here we are. We're on the train. We're at the very front. I've got the GoPro stuck on the window up there. So we're gonna record this for you guys all the way up and then all the way back.
And in case anybody missed the initial platform announcements, we ask that you do not eat or drink anything on the train besides water. Please keep all snacks and beverages besides water in your backpacks at all times. Thank you.
That's cool.
He learned a new joke yesterday. He likes dad jokes.
Alright, I'm going to come through the train to do a quick head count, so please keep the central aisle lanes clear for me. Thank you.
It's $2 per dollar.
Yeah, just regular walking, you'll be fine. But like if you have to walk up some steps, take it easy.
See what I have to do.
And I want to say I read somewhere there's a pitch to the seats because we're going to be at like a 25% incline, and so there's a pitch to the seats to help you.
You're correct.
Oh, all right.
So if you kind of look between the seats, some of the seats facing up are a little bit more straight forward. They're angled a little more down, and the ones in the facing backwards are angled a little bit more up. So that it accounts. It's a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not, you'll still feel the pitch, but yeah, 25% is our seat pitch going climb today. We average about 16% going up the entire mountain.
Did you stay in hospital?
How long of a trip is it?
It's about an hour and 10 minutes. Up and down.
See what happens? Did you hydrate?
Buckle up. Here we go. Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I have gotten altitude sickness very much, but I think I did get it when I went to Peru near 2 weeks ago, which was pretty high. I think it's higher than 49 for a while. And for the first day there, I had a horrible
And so there's already a train up there. There was a 9:30 run that they seem to understand. And then I think we're up there for like 45 minutes and then come back down.
Yeah, so we give you about 40 to 50 minutes up at the top.
Okay.
Any more than that, and people start to feel the effects of the high altitude a lot more severely. Also, we are running, we can, run up to 10 to 12 trips a day up the mountain, and we can have up to 4 trains on the track at one time. We have places where we meet other trains along the way going in each direction. So we have a very good schedule, so make sure we're not delaying anything.
Welcome aboard the Broadmoor Manitou Pikes Peak Railway. We have begun a journey of 8.9 miles that will eventually bring us all to the very top. Pikes Peak, America's mountain, standing at 14,100 feet.
And so you can drive this, but it takes 2 hours because it's just switchback after switchback.
This is the longest continuous
They
hot
actually
railing
have
track
to
in the
do
Western Hemisphere.
part of the way down. There's a brake check
entire world.
to make sure that you've got enough brakes and they're not
To get
overheating.
things started, let's introduce our crew here. Up at the front of the train in the little glass boxes, Mr. Engineer Josh. Everybody, let's give Josh a nice warm round of applause to get things started. Josh is going to get us up to the top of the mountain back safely like we've passed thousands of times before. My name is Quinn. I'll be your conductor for the day. It's my job to make sure this train runs on time, everybody stays safe, and moderately entertained. If anybody has any questions for me along the way, please keep them to yourselves. That is until the ride down the mountain, at which point I will come through the train to answer any questions that anybody might have. This railroad has been in operation for over 130 years, since 1891. We've been operating continuously since then, with the sole exception of a 3-year period between 2017 and 2021, when we were closed temporarily for a massive rebuild and reconstruction. This involved purchasing 3 brand new trains from Switzerland, one of which you are on right now. We also replaced the entire track from the depot all the way up to the summit and added extensive renovations to the depot itself. This rebuild was provided by the owner of the Broadmoor Hotel and Cog Railway, a man named Phil Anschutz. Mr. Anschutz spent about $100 million of his own money to make sure that this historic railway continues offering rides to people for generations to come. And with that, everybody, I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride up the mountain. Also, just a little housekeeping. If you'd like to close your windows at any point, you're welcome to do that. You just push up on the handles and the windows will close.
I also like to tell people, on the way up that the conductor will talk about many of the things we've seen and stuff like that. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Sure.
I'm just sitting here, you know,
Okay.
all by myself. But if you don't have anything, don't worry. You know, it won't hurt my feelings. But some people think that me being in the glass box means I can't say anything or talk or anything like that. But
What is the altitude of the tree line?
tree line on Pikes Peak is about 11,500 feet.
Okay.
It varies from mountain to mountain depending on which one you're on, but here it's 11,500.
Okay. And how much snow did they get last night?
Last night, I don't believe we had any snow,
Okay.
but this past week we did have, we got probably close to 4 or 5 inches on top around this past Sunday to Monday.
Okay.
We got a bunch of snow, so there might be a little bit of snow left up there, but the past couple of days it's been sunny, so it's probably going to be melted. It's mostly melted off. There might be a tiny bit left on the summit, but technically it could snow any time of the year on the summit.
Sure.
Even in July, it just doesn't accumulate like it normally does. But this was our first big accumulation this year. So.
What elevation did we start at?
We started about 6,500 feet.
So we're gonna go
So we're gaining about 7,600 feet in total.
nice.
And this was all done by hand and donkeys.
Back in the 1890s, yep, this was all done by hand.
That's incredible.
Obviously, when we rebuilt, we tore everything up and used heavy machinery and stuff to transfer all the materials and rebuild everything. But
Here, I got you. I didn't even touch your hair, man. I'm sorry.
And then I know the wheels are oddly small. What was the purpose behind that?
so the wheels are actually pretty standard size for trains in terms of whether they're powered or not. Typically, non-powered wheels are smaller.
Okay.
But then powered wheels are much larger.
Right.
We don't. All of our power comes from the cogs in the center of our train that mesh with that center rail. So we don't really need any large wheels. Those side rails are pretty much there to just balance the train and provide us guidance.
Okay.
So.
Probably the air. And the brakes.
So that air that you're hearing being hissed out is actually the system in it is for our brakes. We use air to keep our brakes open, but it's actually releasing air regularly to basically clean the pipes and keep all moisture out. So that's what that is.
Goes it out. See much wildlife along the track?
All the time. We're running through Pike National Forest, so it's pretty common to see wildlife. We can't always guarantee it because they are wild, but yesterday a deer was coming down the mountain, and that deer was sitting on the tracks. I had to stop for it and wait for it to be finished staring down the train before it moves off.
Anything bigger than deer, or is it just mostly deer?
We have black bear in the area, pretty common. We also have
Now, if you
moose.
look around the inside of the train, you'll notice that on one side of the train there are only 2 seats, while on the other there are 3. So when I address your attention outside the train, I'll refer to the 2-seat side and the 3-seat side. Again, that is the 2-seat side and 3-seat side. Coming up out the 2-seat side, we'll be passing a large boulder soon. And after we pass that boulder, we will be seeing another boulder that has fallen and landed in the shape of a diamond, just like a diamond on a playing card. If you look straight out the train after this boulder here, out the 2-seat side, then a little bit down, you'll see it out there.
So for you guys in the front, I recommend looking behind me because I'm kind of blocking the view.
Oh, yeah.
Like a diamond on a playing card.
See it? Cool. Thank you.
But if you ever miss anything, don't worry, you get a second opportunity on the way down.
It's alright.
Now, having been open for over 130 years has given us plenty of time to come up with some very creative names for things around here. We call that rock Diamond Rock.
Yeah.
Diamond rock, just like all the rocks we'll see from here on out, are a kind of rock known as granite. This particular body of granite that we call Pikes Peak formed about 1 billion years ago when magma churned up from the core of the earth and cooled over the course of thousands of years. After millions of years of tectonic activity, which included uplift and erosion, this body of granite ended up where we see it today. Now, Pikes Peak granite is known for its particular pinkish orangish color. It's a little more pronounced in some areas of the mountain than others. That's caused by a relatively high level of the mineral feldspar found in the mixture. All granite, no matter where you find it around the world, is made up of 3 primary minerals. Those minerals are feldspar, mica, and quartz.
How are you feeling?
Yeah. It's very relaxing. Nice little rhythm, nice and comfortable.
So was the mountain lion above tree line last time or below?
Did I read correctly that there is a snow blade on for one of the trains that you can, if there's a lot of snow, you can come through and it cleans the tracks?
Yes and no. All of the trains have their own small plow on the front and back of them.
Okay.
That can plow up to 2 feet high of snow.
Okay.
But we have, and you'll see coming up in a little while, we have a massive yellow 26-ton snowblower
Okay.
that can plow up to 15 feet high of snow.
Oh.
So in the wintertime, we'll run that thing first thing in the morning and clear the tracks.
Right.
Now, again, out
But
the
if there's a little bit of snow, the trains themselves have plows
waterfall.
that they can basically plow up.
This waterfall was named after 2 good friends who lived in the area long ago. They escaped from an orphanage in the area and lived in this part of the forest for many years. Their names were Rose and Emma, which is why we call this waterfall Rose Emma Falls. Now, for those of you on the 3-seat side, do not worry, we have another waterfall coming up just for you. This next one is called Minnehaha Falls. Get your cameras ready, it is actually higher than Niagara Falls.
See a flamingo?
Ah, you've noticed our elusive Pikes Peak flamingo.
Flamingo,
One
yeah.
of the more rare creatures here in Pikes Peak.
Does it have a name?
I don't know if it has a name, but it mysteriously appeared about a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Now, before anybody accuses me of disseminating fake news, remember, I said higher, not taller. We're at about 8,300 feet above sea level, which means we're about 8,000 feet higher than Niagara Falls. I'm sorry, everybody, I'm contractually obliged to tell that joke.
It's pretty good.
Which, if you ever go to Niagara Falls, the Canadian side is hands down the side to go to.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. We've done New York or the Buffalo.
Yeah.
Or we've done the American side, which is cool. But I have been on the Canadian side.
Oh, yes. Because let's see, I'm trying to think back to that trip. I think we took Air Canada.
Now, if you have not
DC.
already, I do highly recommend
like
introducing yourselves to the people sitting
13,000
directly
capital
across
one
from you.
miles.
You get to know their
And I
hometown,
transferred them to Air Canada.
their favorite
and their ticket
restaurants,
was free.
maybe their social security number.
And flew into
The reason I suggest this now is
Toronto.
because we are about to enter our first
DC to
25%
Montreal,
grade of the
Toronto.
day. So if you slide out of your seats into the laps of people sitting across from you, it's nice to know their names first. 25% grade means that for every 100 feet we go forward, we go 25 feet up. And the average grade along our track is 16%. Now, this particular hill that we are about to start climbing is known around these parts as Son of a Gun Hill. Back in the old days when we still had steam locomotives on the tracks, the firemen, who were the people who shoveled coal, they had to shovel that coal 3 times faster than usual just to make it to the top of this hill. And when they made it up there, they would often look at each other, and in between ragged gasps of breath say, "This hill is a real son of a gun." Or something like that. Now, thanks to modern engineering, those kinds of outbursts are a thing of the past.
So I don't think the video can quite capture the steep grade that we're going up right now.
I always like to tell people we're like a roller coaster that never stops going up. But if we ever were to go down like a roller coaster, no one would be having any fun.
September is the best one.
And maybe some of you have started to wonder if we ever get rocks on the tracks. This does happen occasionally. Just a few days ago, actually, when Josh and I were heading up this little section here, Josh noticed a large rock that had fallen in the way. So he stopped the train. He and I rolled up our shirt sleeves and hopped out. While Josh held the rock up, I managed to prop it up with 2 smaller rocks to keep it in place. I hope it's where we left it. We'll be able to see if it's still there in just a moment around this curve. We'll be at the 2-seat side here. Oh yes, there it is, looking nice.
What are you laughing at? I definitely lifted that rock. It's true.
Right. Got more space? Justin probably first
Now, for around 34 years, a hotel operated in this part of the canyon. It started as a modest single-room log cabin in the 1880s, but when the owner decided to start selling sandwiches out the front door to hikers and travelers, it quickly grew in popularity. When the cog railway opened, business boomed until that little cabin eventually had 22 guest rooms, a lavish banquet hall, a ballroom, a post office, a railroad stop, and And like any mountain hotel, or at least any respectable mountain hotel, a single-lane bowling alley. Called the Halfway House Hotel, hikers and travelers could stay for the low, low price of $10 a week.
Oh.
That is until the hotel burned to the ground in 1926. You can see where it once stood, coming up here out the 3-seat side. It now looks like a large, flat, gravelly area with bricks strewn about and a sign that says Halfway House and window height.
I heard Josh burned it down.
What?
That's what I was told.
I'm not that old. You can actually find a picture of the Halfway House Hotel back in its heyday online. You can search for it.
Cool.
I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can.
Well, we're a 90-ton train carrying about 25 tons of people. So I don't know about you. I would slow down a little
Probably-
bit if I was
probably
trying to
so.
push up a hill.
Yeah. And I would think that whatever structure is holding the track on the ground is pretty deep in the ground.
Yeah, so you'll occasionally see these like metal like cables,
I saw
like
that.
buckles and stuff.
Yeah.
In a V shape, kind of attached to a center rack. Those are our anchors that are anchored into the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, and it keeps
Yeah,
like right here.
these, yeah.
And it keeps the track from sliding down the mountain.
Welcome to the town of Ruxton Park. Population 0. In the early 1900s, the city of Colorado Springs built this hydroelectric plant here in Ruxton Park. It's actually one of the oldest functioning hydroelectric plants on this side of the Mississippi River. It still powers around 200 homes in nearby Manitou Springs. Now, up until about a year ago, the caretaker of the plant lived here in Ruxton Park in that White House that we just passed. His family full-time. Now, they decided to move because they had 2 young children. They had to drive them to and from school every single day, no big deal, until you consider the dirt road that we can see out the 3-seat side here.
Anywhere bad?
All this is the caretaker's private driveway, and it is 60 miles long.
It's about an hour and a half just to get into town.
Oh.
Yeah, tonight we might go to I think I were there yesterday, but I think she's kind of early.
Wonder if they ever ordered from Amazon.
7:30. So this is my second time.
Occasionally we have in the past brought them like food and stuff.
Oh.
Just because like it's only like 2 miles if you're going by the train.
Right.
But if you're going by the road, it's 60 miles.
Yeah.
If they're like in dead of winter and deep in snow. The family actually moved out to a house closer to town because they had 2 kids that grew up to school age.
Right.
They didn't want to have to drive 120 miles round trip just to drop them off. By the time they got back home, they'd have to turn around and head back to school to pick them up.
Right.
So. But the reason it's 60 miles is because it wraps around to the 10 lakes/reservoirs around Pikes Peak that are all used for Colorado Springs drinking water. And part of the caretaker's job is to check on those lakes.
Now we're currently rocketing through the heart of Pikes National Forest. Pikes National Forest is about 1.4 million acres large. It's about the size of the state of Delaware. It was established during the early 1900s, about 15 years after the purchase and construction of the railroad tracks. So we are on a somewhat unusual, narrow strip of private land, winding its way through what is otherwise publicly owned. Now, Pikes National Forest is also home to a wide variety of wild animals, many of which we can see out the train windows every once in a while. Some of the animals to keep your eyes peeled for out there are mule deer, elk, moose, porcupines, mountain lions, coyotes, Bigfoot, black bears, foxes, squirrels, chipmunks, mice, and even occasionally ducks. Now, of course, the key word is wild animals. I cannot guarantee any animal sightings out there today, unfortunately, but do keep your eyes peeled. They do live out here.
If you look up and on the two-seat side, slightly above the trees, you might, where the kind of the snow is, you might be able to make out a building on top of that mountain. That's the top of Pikes Peak.
Okay.
That is where we're going.
Okay.
For the next mile or so, you'll on and off be able to see the summit. So keep an eye out.
Now, coming up here out the two-seat side, you'll be able to see what we call Deer Park. This nice open clearing. If you look towards the back of Deer Park, you'll see some tall cinnamon-colored pine trees. Those are ponderosa pines, one of the most prominent pines of the American West. The bark of the ponderosa has the wonderful smell of fresh vanilla. So if you find one on your travels, I personally recommend wrapping your arms around it and giving it a good sniff. It is a smell you do not want to miss. Now the paler, smoother trees around us are aspen trees. Aspen trees draw crowds from around the world every fall when their leaves turn a vibrant golden color. Many of them are starting to turn now. You can see some of them are quite yellow. It kind of depends on where we are in the mountain. This little area is still fairly green, but you can tell the shifting colors now. Although in about a week and a half to 2 weeks, I would guess, they're all going to be bright yellow. Another little interesting fact about the aspens, they only seem to be individual trees, but they're actually connected to each other via their underground root system. That means that when you're looking at a grove of aspens like the one around us here, you're probably looking at a single massive organism. As a matter of fact, scientists recently thought that the largest organism on planet Earth was a grove of aspens, 106 acres large in Utah. But that title was snatched away from the aspens by a 2,200 acre large honey fungus living in the mountains of eastern Oregon. Now, if you're ever in the wild out here and in need of sunscreen, all you have to do is find an aspen tree. Rub your hands on the outside of it. They'll come away with a whitish powder that you can use as a sunscreen substitute. It works quite well, although the SPF rating is only 2 or 3.
Yeah, that was our big snowblower.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Now, the founder of this railway was a man named Zalman Simmons. Mr. Simmons was a Renaissance man. Among other things, he was an inventor, and he had traveled out here to Colorado Springs to test out some insulated telegraph wires that he was working on. Now, in order to test them properly, he had to install some up on the top of Pikes Peak. And at the time he was here, the best way to get up there was a 2-day donkey back ride. Mr. Simmons took that ride and was quoted as saying that while the views were indeed spectacular, the ride up on the donkeys was one of the most uncivilized things he had ever done. So, he took it upon himself, back in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to fundraise about $1.5 million to purchase the land and build the railway. After 3 years of construction, from 1888 to 1891, the first passengers ascended on June 30th, 1891. Does anybody have any guesses as to how much a ticket cost back in those days?
5 cents.
The answer, everybody, is $5 whole. If you converted that into our money today, it'd be about $165. So you all got a very good deal. Now, Mr. Simmons died in the early 1900s, and his family sold the railroad to multimillionaire Spencer Penrose, the founder of the Broadmoor Hotel. And ever since then, we have been owned privately by the Broadmoor. Now, if you think that you haven't heard of Zalman Simmons, you're probably right. Unless you've slept on a Simmons Beauty Rest mattress. Same Simmons.
Just Dispatch, train 18, rolling.
Now we can get a nice little sneak peek
Count
of Pikes Peak out the
229.
2-seat side off in the distance there. Pikes Peak has been catching travelers' eyes for many, many millennia. It's actually the highest point of anything east of it in the United States. The first prominent mountain of the American West that travelers encounter as they make their way across the plains. In the Colorado Gold Rush days, Pikes Peak stood as a beacon guiding hopeful miners to this region. But several decades before then, in 1806, the mountain caught the eye of a 27-year-old Army lieutenant by the name of Zebulon Montgomery Pike. Mr. Pike and his men had been sent west to survey the recently purchased Louisiana Territory. And when they spotted the mountain from a distance, they were overcome with an urge to climb it, thinking that the views from the top would aid them in their surveying efforts. Unfortunately for Pike and his men, they were gravely unprepared for the task that day. They had no food, were wearing tattered summer uniforms, several of them had forgotten their cell phone chargers at home, and they quickly encountered waist-high November snows that prevented them from reaching the summit that day. They did get within 12 miles of the mountain. They climbed Mount Rosa on accident. It's a little bit south of here. And at the time, Pike estimated the peak to be 18,000 feet high, and boldly declared that no human being would ever climb it. Now, of course, the Ute tribe, the original inhabitants of this land, they have been climbing the mountain for as long as they've lived in these regions, many, many generations. Their name for it is Tava Kavi, which means Sun Mountain. They hold annual ceremonies up at the summit to this very day. Now, Zebulon Pike was killed in the War of 1812. Because of his status as a war hero, in conjunction with the fact that he was the first American citizen to record a sighting of the mountain, the United States government officially named it after him in the 1890s. If you have water with you on board, I would like to remind you to continue drinking it as we climb the mountain. It is very important to stay hydrated as we gain elevation.
Where's
It's west of the Red Rock Inn. So Wolfhorn Mountain is 10,208 elevation. That's actually where I got the swimming room. There's a store there called Mountains on. All they do is make
talking about all they do damn People thought we were crazy. They're like, "You're going all the way to buy some hoodies?" Yeah. Pick me up one. No.
They don't ship or anything like that. You've got a destination point,
Nope.
huh?
That's part of the unique
You gotta
trek
go
to get there.
You
Is
gotta go to get it.
you gotta go get it. Now, if you get there and they don't, if you made your appointment, you get there and they don't have your size, they will ship it to you.
Oh, okay.
But
So
you
can,
have
like,
to
order from there, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. We've gone twice, and the second time we went, my niece wanted a particular color, and they didn't have her size, and so we paid for it, and they shipped it to her.
Use our phone to zoom in, and we finally got the first 2-3 letters, and led to Google. We're at work right now, and we found it. And at that point,
sure does look natural right there, doesn't it?
Back in the old days, there were several carriage roads that people would often ride in horse-drawn buggies up to the summit of the mountain. None of them are still in use, but in 1893, an English teacher from Massachusetts took a buggy ride up one of those carriage roads. Inspired by the views that she saw along the way, she ended up scribbling a poem down when she got back to her hotel room in Colorado Springs later that day. Her name was Catherine Lee Bates. The poem that she wrote down that day was eventually set to music to become the now famous song, America the Beautiful. This next spot on the tracks that we are about to enter is called Inspiration Point, because it is believed that views like we're about to see are what inspired Catherine Lee Bates to write that now famous song. Another reminder to please not stand in or cross over the central aisleway while the train is moving. You're welcome to stand up in your seating areas to take photographs, but please do not cross over the central aisleway. Thank you. Now, we have incredibly clear conditions this morning. If you look out towards the horizon, you're looking out to the state of Kansas. And down below those two lower hills, you can see Garden of the Gods Park. It's kind of shadowy right now, but it's that large blob of sandstone down there. And of course, the city of Colorado Springs.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is one of the main reasons why I love doing this job. Views like this.
Yeah.
This definitely feels like the roller coaster park.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually on our longest 25% grade right now. It's about a mile long. We have a very unique name for it. We call it Big Hill.
Yeah, just that little bit getting up right there, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Train 40 in, Highball at 1040.
1040 copy, Highball, thank you, sir.
Now, the body of water that we can see out the 3-seat side down below, down yonder, that is a lake, and that lake's name is Mr. Lakey. I'm just kidding, it's called Lake Moraine. Lake Moraine is a naturally occurring lake left here after the last ice age, when glaciers carved out these mountain valleys. Now, while it is a naturally occurring lake, the city of Colorado Springs shored up its left bank a few years ago. And the road that you can see leading along the top of that shored up bank is the continuation of the 60-mile-long private driveway that we saw back in Ruxton Park.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. My ears are popping real bad. Oh, absolutely.
Now this is one of the steepest grades along the track. It is a 25% grade. If you look from the uphill end of the train to the downhill end of the train, the difference in height between those 2 points right now is about 40 feet. Maybe some of you are wondering how we climb these steep grades. If you look at our tracks, you'll see 3 separate rails running down their length. The 2 outside rails are called the T-rails. They're like on any standard gauge railway. They are there to balance the weight of the train and provide our overall direction. But the middle rail, called the T-rail or the rack rail, is that's what allows us to climb our incredibly steep grades along our route. The rack rail has evenly spaced steel teeth running down its length, and the 10 cog wheels that look like giant gears on the underside of the train mesh with the teeth on the rack rail, kind of like a zipper, locking us in place. All of the driving force going uphill and all of the braking force going downhill are provided by the 10 cog wheels on the underside of the train. Now, a standard gauge railway can handle grades of around 4% maximum, while our trains can handle grades up to 25%, like this one here. Now, the steepest cog railway track in the world is in Switzerland. It climbs up Mount Pilatus, and its maximum grade is 48%, which is about 2 times the grade that we're on right now.
Todd, so we know where we're going there.
Yeah, summit switch still hand throw only.
All right, we're going to be up on the summit here shortly, just a little while. Before we get up there, we have some important summit-related updates to share with everybody. So if I can get everyone's attention here in the middle of the train for just a moment. This is information you do know. All right, if everybody can take a look at your watch or cell phone and see what time it says on there. My watch says 10:50. If yours is anything vastly different, I do recommend making note of the difference. We will be going off of the time on my watch up there. We will be leaving the summit in this exact same train at 12 o'clock sharp. 12 o'clock sharp. And we will begin boarding the train at 11:50. 11:50. If any of you have aspirations to become mountaineers, all you have to do to realize your dreams today is miss the train. And you will be walking down. Your tickets are good for this train and this train only, so it is very important that you make it back on board before we leave at 12 o'clock. Up on top of the mountain, you will find the Summit House Visitor Center, the only building up there. In that building, they have bathrooms. They also have a museum, a gift shop, and a cafe. Now, if you do decide to get any food or drinks in the cafe, please do not bring them back on board the train. You're welcome to eat them inside, but we just ask that you don't bring any food or drinks from the cafe back on board. And once again, everybody, what time are we boarding the train? 11:50. And what time are we leaving? 12 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Now, if you look out the 3-seat side, there's a sort of a road cut into the grass parallel to us about 400 feet away. That's the remains of one of those old carriage roads I mentioned earlier. That is the one that Catherine Lee Bates rode up in the 1890s. We'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly the higher up we go. Right now it's running parallel, but eventually it will be perpendicular to us and pretty easy to spot. Up here we'll be at a spot on the tracks that we call the Saddle, which is one of the few places we can get nice sweeping views both east and west. East will be out the 2-seat side. We'll be able to see down to the city of Colorado Springs and out to the state of Kansas as before. Everything you can see out the 3-seat side is Colorado. It's extremely clear today. We get some some really lovely views right now. Those mountains in the far distance are a part of the Continental Divide, which runs all the way from northern Alaska down to the southern tip of South America. You can actually see quite a few different smaller mountain ranges that make up the Continental Divide from up here. To the far north, which is right out of the train, you can see the snowy southern end of the Collegiate Peaks. And then these ones straight out, those jagged sawtooth mountains, are the Sawatch Mountains. And then to the south of those, which is left, are the Sangre de Cristos, the flatter, darker mountains off in the distance. And then actually to the left of the Sangre de Cristos, it's so clear today, we can see one of the eastern Spanish peaks there off in the far distance. That is far south Colorado, very close to the border of New Mexico.
That's cool.
Now, do we have any passengers on board from Texas? Ooh. Is it true they say that everything is bigger and better in Texas?
That's right.
All right, I invite your attention out the two-seat side. I don't know what you call this in Texas, but in Colorado, this is what we call gravel.
A little bit better. Sure is beautiful up here.
And just a reminder to have passengers not standing in or walking through the central aisleway while the train is in motion. Thank you. Now we got our first snowfall of the year exactly a week ago today. Much of it has melted off. You can still see a lot of it on the distant Sawatch Mountains and on the Collegiate Peaks down to the north there. Now we do run trains year-round, including in the middle of the winter when there is much more snow up here. Some of you may have noticed the large yellow machine down below. That is our 26-ton snow blower unit that we push up first thing in the morning to clear the tracks of snow. Using that machine, we can run trains year-round, including in the middle of the winter.
Has he ever had coaching?
These blackbirds in front of us, they're known as Arctic ravens. They typically are found
Another
in the
marmot out the two-seat side.
They're often one of the most smartest birds in the world. They're estimated to have an intelligence of around a 7-year-old human child.
Out the three-seat side there as well.
As I got to like right before the top, I was like, your body's
Do they have Boost up there?
Sorry?
Boost, do they have that up there?
I don't know if they sell the boost cans up at the summit. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I'm not sure all that they sell up there. But we do recommend when you're walking around on the summit just to take it slow.
Oh, yeah.
And to take deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Right.
Just so that way you're not, overworking yourself.
so slow.
there's a.
Oh, yeah. He is a little fat guy, isn't he?
Yeah, they're bulking up for the winter.
Yeah. I have a big, nice camera, but then you gotta lug it.
Now, maybe some of you have noticed the somewhat conspicuous mountain out the three-seat side, off in the mid-distance. It has no trees on it. It seems to have stairs carved along its length. That is where 10,000 years ago, ancient aliens landed and created the Great Pyramid that they call, I'm just kidding, that is the Cripple Creek and Victor gold mine. One of the most lucrative gold mines in the universe. They've estimated to have pulled out around 23 million ounces of gold. Since they opened their operations, that's worth about $37 billion. And they still pull out up to $1 million worth of gold out of there every single day.
I'll continue. We're gonna go there. Oh, you are?
Now all these blackbirds up here, these are the Arctic ravens. They group up in large groups this time of the year. And they fly around the trains. They're very intelligent, very playful creatures.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
Yeah, there's a marmot on that road.
Oh, I see the cars doing the drive.
Yep. There's a marmot over there, and there's a marmot right here.
Oh, he's up on top of that rock.
Sunning himself.
There's the road from Pikes Peak right there.
There's the Arctic ravens on the track.
They're looking for that oxygen can.
And at the three-seat side here, we can see a section of the Pikes Peak Highway. Pikes Peak Highway is one of the only other ways to get up to the top of the mountain besides walking. There's a 20-mile-long paved highway. It usually takes motorists around an hour and a half to drive up one way.
So how do the employees
Pikes Peak
get up
Highway
there
is also home to the second oldest
How do the employees get up
automobile
there
race
each day?
They'll
in
take
the
a
United
shuttle
States. The
up the
Pikes
highway
Peak
in the morning.
International
But if
Hill
it's too
Climb
snowy and the highway's
takes place
closed,
every
we'll take
year
them off.
in June. We just had the
The summit is owned
107th
by the
Pikes
city of
Peak Hill
Colorado
Climb
Springs.
this
We're owned
last
by the
summer.
broadmoor. We're two separate companies.
Right.
So,
Now the current
you know,
record holder for the Pikes
depending
Peak
on how they
Hill Climb
we'll
is a
work with them
French
and help them out as
driver
much as we can.
by the
But
name
they
of
take care of
Romain
their own thing
Dumont.
and how they want to do
Mr.
stuff.
Dumont set the record in 2018 driving an experimental electric Volkswagen IDR. He made it up the track in 7 minutes and 57 seconds. His average speed was 93 miles an hour. Now there are over 100 switchback turns, just like the one we're about to see here, and none of them have guardrails. As you can see, we'll be up on the summit shortly here. A few extra little details for you. If you'd like to stay on the train, you're welcome to do that. You can also board the train earlier than 11:50 if you'd like. The doors are going to be closed, but you can open them by pressing the green and yellow button on the outside of the train. The doors will open and then they'll close automatically for you. If you have water bottles that you'd like to fill up, you can bring them with you inside and fill them up in the gift shop area of the visitor center. And again, if you decide to get any food or drinks inside, please do not bring them back on board the train. You can finish them up inside, but please do not bring them back on board the train. And today, as many of you probably noticed on your way into the depot, is the Pikes Peak Marathon. Very large, very popular event. It's probably going to be pretty busy up here today. So I do recommend bringing any valuables inside with you. There will be quite a few people wandering around up here. Once again, everybody, what time are we boarding the train? 11:50. And what time are we leaving? 12. Thank you. If your windows are still open, if you wouldn't mind closing them now, it's going to help keep a little bit of the heat inside the train for your return. And we'll be getting on this exact same train for the ride back, same seats, everything. So just make sure to hop on board this exact same train. There will probably be another one up here by the time we leave. So it's important to just get back on the same train at the same platform. We're not going to move it or anything, so just hop on the same exact one. Now out you can see the marathon runners out the 2-seat side down below. That is the bar trail. This is the upper section of the bar trail. The bar trail is 13 miles long, which is what makes it a marathon trail. So up and down is a full 26.2 miles. Yesterday we had the Pikes Peak Ascent, which was the race up the mountain. And we actually had a record setting yesterday. Someone ran up the 13-mile trail in 2 hours and 21 seconds. A new world record.
One right now, it looks like we're good, so I'm going to wrap things up here and come down.
All right, everybody, welcome to the summit of Pikes Peak. Have a great time up here. Once again, we'll see you back on board by 12 o'clock.
You have reached the end. There is nothing left to see.
Mom, put your sweatshirt on now.
Yeah.
Before we even get off.
Where's he at?
Yeah.
Daddy took away.
For what? Hey guys, we made it up here. This is,
Here we are, Pikes Peak, 14,000 feet, 112. 14,000 feet, 14,112 feet.